All right. Hello. Good evening, everyone. This is All Things Crunchy, and I'm MJ. We are back for a second season. This is the first episode of our second season of All Things Crunchy. Thank you for joining us. And tonight, I am very, very excited to have Miss Susie Walton. Let me bring her up here. Hello there, Mama. and Grandmama, too.
That's a whole journey in itself.
That I remember was your greatest joy recently. Now, how many grandkids do you have now?
7.5. So in June there'll be another baby. So we'll have 8. I'll have 8 grandchildren under the age of 5.
Oh my gosh, how awesome! Yeah. Your kids and your in-laws are probably just so lucky to have you in their lives.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just so lucky. First of all, I'm so lucky that I have who I have for my sons, and I'm as lucky in the realm of who they were able to have as their wives. Like my daughter, unbelievable. They're amazing. So
yay!
We're all lucky all around, and the grandkids are just a blast and a lot of energy, and it's just totally fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And that's so good to have when you get along with, like I get along with my mother-in-law, and it's just so nice to have that relationship. So that's really good. Yeah. Makes it good.
I had 4 sons, right? Now it's like I have 4 daughters too.
Nice. Yeah, I remember that. Because you have all sons, and well, now you have daughters too. Yay. Yeah, that must be really good too for just the relationship with your grandkids and everything. I mean, I can just imagine that, they're super happy to have grandma take care of the kids anytime.
Yeah, I'm going up to Orange County tomorrow to babysit one of them so their parents can go out to Palm Desert for the night. So yeah.
Awesome.
I'm here.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. I remember being an auntie before I was a mom. That was I always wanted to take care of the kids like anytime that I could. And then the one greatest thing was that I could give them back.
Well, it takes a village. And I think it's, and that's one of my whole thoughts. And the reason I even opened up Indigo Village was that whole philosophy that it truly does take a village to raise a child. And no one should have to ever do it on their own. And hopefully no one, most people don't. So however one can create a village, it's most important. It's a myth. It's an old story thinking that you should be able to do this on your own. And that it's, that you shouldn't have to asking for help as a sign of weakness.
Yes.
And actually asking for help is a sign of self-reliance.
Right. It took me a while to learn that. Unfortunately, I kind of grew up with this mind frame that it was like a pride thing. But thankfully, I did learn that I needed to ask for help, and I needed my mama tribe and my village, and it's made life much easier. So that is definitely. Yeah, it's one of the huge things that I try to get across besides self-care and finding your tribe, asking for help. Those are you're right. It's not a myth. This is actually a fact. We all need to do this.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Indigo Village. If you want to tell our viewers about what you do and how they can utilize your services. And we'll talk a little bit too about your course. It's called The Joy of Parenting, and let everybody know about a little bit more about you.
Alrighty. Well, I opened Indigo Village, an actual building 10 years ago, 2006.
Wow.
I did it with the thought that, first of all, I wanted to honor all the kids of today who are almost all indigos. And then the whole village concept that it takes a village. So I wanted to create a one-stop shop for parents that were looking for some alternative way of raising their kids, could come to one building and have it all. And I did that, and it was amazing, and the practitioners were incredible. And I did that for almost 5 years. And then right before I turned 60, which will be exactly 5 years ago.
And you do not look 60.
I'm going to be 65 in a week or so. I'm going to be Medicare in another couple of weeks. Another, whatever. One night, my son, one of my Indigo sons, he said, you know, Mom, you shouldn't have a building anymore. You should, you know, and buildings are old school. You should just go virtual. You should create a virtual community. I'm like, create a what? So I went in for explanation. He goes, you're turning 60. You're starting to have grandkids. You don't need the stress of a building. So he explained to me how I could have everything I needed on my website. And, you know, I was like, first of all, I'm like, a virtual, I kept asking him, virtual what? So a virtual community, and I did it. And so now Indigo Village is a virtual community, and my resources and, you know, my practitioners who I refer out, they're all on there. And then I still go teach at locations. So I'm always teaching places. You know, I do coaching at my home. I do my home office. But yeah, it's indigovillage.com, and everything you need is on there, whether it's how to find, you know, therapists or massage therapists or, you know, pathics or just pretty much anything that you're looking
Awesome.
for. Yeah.
Nice.
And then a couple of years ago, I decided, why not just create my own parenting course too? I've been running another parenting course for years that I love, but I'm like, I should just have my own, and that was the Joy of Parenting.
Yes.
And maybe we can do a Google Hangout about the joy of parenting, because I think it's important. I feel like most of us feel the joy when when we lay eyes on our firstborn, however that is, and then somehow we lose joy along the way.
Yeah.
I personally feel we lose the joy because we start basing our joy on the behavior of our children. And that's not okay. Our kids, I feel like our kids chose us because they felt we would be the best to support them in their journey.
Right.
Come to us to support our journey. So when we get all like, they're driving me crazy. They're not here for us.
Yeah.
You know, they chose us to be there for them. Anyway, so that would be another great interview.
I would absolutely love to do that with you, Susie. I mean, the thing about this show is you have 37 topics, and I'm like, oh my gosh, to even narrow it down to 10 was hard. And then from there, so I would absolutely love to do that. We should talk about that.
Absolutely.
So like I said, 37 different topics. I chose one because it was just, I really felt like it was something that was definitely in my daily life that I didn't want to do. And I feel like it's, you know, a lot of parents, when the end of the day comes and we're like, crap, man, I shouldn't have done this. Why was I so nagging about this? Why did I, you know, and so, you know, the topic here, stop micromanaging your kids and to teach them self-management in 5 easy ways. And oh my gosh, that sounds really awesome. And I think we should just jump right in if you don't mind. But first I'll ask, why would we want our kids to have the skill of self-management?
So it's so important. I feel today, MJ, more than ever before, it's important that our kids have self-management, because I feel today with the access that they have in the world of social media, just, you know, internet, everything, it's just, everything's out there within a, you know, a click away, right?
Yeah.
We can't manage them all the time. We can't check in on them, right? They need these skills. And if not, what's going to happen when they're on their own? You know, if they're so used to the parents micromanaging them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, why that happens is because we have parents that are very overzealous. We have parents who love their kids too much in the way that they do too much for them.
Yeah.
And they end up micromanaging them. I actually have a book, and it is called How to Raise an Adult. It's under my laptop, so I had to pull my laptop up for a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
The author of that book, someone put an article on Facebook, and it was an article about how these kids are going off to college and are feeling miserably and not doing well and becoming depressed, and they don't have a lot of passion in them. And what this woman was saying, which I totally agree with 100%, one of the main reasons is because these kids have never had to take care of themselves. You know, they always had parents that wanted, you know, made sure their homework got done, made sure their tests were studied for, made sure they had their soccer cleats, made sure they were signed up for 18 million classes, and always just doing for them. And
Right.
then send them off into the, world, and they just fall. There's a story about a teacher that had a cocoon in his classroom, and one of his students asked if he could take it home for the weekend. And the teacher said, yes, of course you can. But if it starts moving and stuff, leave it alone. Just leave it alone. And the boy said, yes, little 12-year-old boy. Well, over the weekend, this little cocoon was moving and moving and moving and moving. And that made the boy nervous. So eventually, just to be helpful, he made a tiny slit in the cocoon, just in case that butterfly was having a hard time coming out. Well, that slit allowed the butterfly to come out, and it died. And when he went back to tell the teacher what happened, the teacher said, yes, this is why I asked you not to do anything to the cocoon, because all that movement was the butterfly strengthening its wings. So when it did finally come out, it could actually fly away. And I love that analogy, because as parents, so often when our kids are struggling, we just want to fix them, and we want to make it easier for them. We don't want to see them suffer. We don't want to see them go through their dark nights of the soul, but it's weakening them, so so it's that fine line. And so that's why, self-management is so important. And we have to, and when to start.
Yeah, that would be the next question, because when you don't want to see your kids struggle, and you want, one of the things I'm really trying to not do is kind of second guess him. I try to, my main goal is to keep him safe. That's really my only job. I can't control him. There's no doing that. But I try to put it in his, I try to give him the power in order to make the choice, whether he's doing something or safe, but I try to remind him, but I try not to, to second guess that, oh, be careful, you're gonna, I try to just let him make that decision. But, so yeah, the next question would be, when would be the best time to start? Because, we want to keep our kids safe, but we do need to let them make their own mistakes.
Right. So the best time to have them start is now. Now, whether they're 10, 12, 22, now.
Yeah. So how early then? Like, are we talking about, like how early is, as far as age, like newborn?
Well, I mean, newborn, they're, I think when they start learning how to walk, or even, newborns, you can, when they're learning to roll over, and, they kind of get them, they're rolling and they kind of get stuck in the corner, and you let them kind of in a crib or something, you let them, you're right there. You're kind of, you see if they can, roll them out some, or you might give them a little to help them unroll themselves to the other side. But just those kind of experiences of letting them experience life. And then when they're toddlers and they're walking, and they're, one example I use is when little kids are swimming in the pool, they're jumping up and down the steps, and you let them know, like, if you're not aware, you're going to go to the next step and you're going to be underwater, and you tell them, and they go, okay, and they keep jumping, and you just allow them to, and all of a sudden they're in the next step underwater. You're right there. It's not that they're going to drown.
Right.
Just let them have that experience, because they've got to have them. This is where resilience gets built. This is where awareness comes about. There's been some studies that have been out there lately, MJ, to show there's a lot. We have like an onslaught of 14-year-old, 15-year-old boys that are just playing video games all day and smoking a lot of pot. And one of the reasons they're finding this is happening is because when a child becomes a teenager, there's a part of their brain that unleashes that risky part. But for most of these boys, they have been so coddled, and they never really got dirty. They never really got skin knees. Like, the parents, mothers especially, were always just kind of on them, make sure they did everything right, and blah, blah. And now, so they never really got the chance to take a risk and get a so-called skin knee as a kid. And now that they're teenagers and they've unleashed this part of their brain that's just a natural risk taker, they don't know what to do with it. So the riskiness comes in playing video games, and then they get high, they get high so that they don't feel uncomfortable in that riskiness, so to speak. So it's really important to let kids climb trees and, get dirty, so to speak.
Yeah. And it's the funniest thing these days, like at the park, I find that the mamas that I hang around with and myself, we have parents that are like kind of scared for us and our kids, but we're like, we know our kids, we know that we kind of are letting them do things that probably other parents wouldn't let them do because we know that they need to do that. And we've checked in with them to make sure that they're safe. And like you said, like with the Steyers, we're right there. But it's so funny to be that parent out there where, you've got parents looking at you like, you're going to let your kid do this? Like, but
I was at the park once, and it was a group of nannies that were there, and they're just chit-chatting away, and these kids are running amok. But the nannies had an eye on them, but they were like, yeah. And I was talking to this one young woman over here, and I didn't know she was a nanny or a mom. And she was a mom. And then we were talking, and then I came to the park again the next week, and she was there again, and we said hello, and she said, I went home that day after I was talking to you, and I told my husband, I am so lucky I get to be home with my child, because those nannies, they weren't even really paying attention to those kids, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, no. What those nannies were doing was perfect. Allowing the kids to play without all that micromanaging. Mm-hmm. This is what you want. You want to pretend that you are a nanny then, and let the child roam a little bit and not micro. And she was like blown away by it. She's like, really? I'm like, yes. Let him have an experience of getting some sand in his, hair or whatever it is, or he might fall down one step, but these kids weren't getting hurt, but they were just missing. And it's so important, and that's so hard to do with our firstborns.
Oh yeah.
They have more kids.
Yeah.
I mean, try having 4, or I'm one of 10. I mean, our parents couldn't micromanage us. There's so many of us. We learned to manage ourselves.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely I grew up with being my mom was a single parent, so she really wasn't around. And, I grew up with you come back in when the lights, the street lights turn on. So, it was definitely a different time for us too. But there's something, that there's that, if you're constantly, on your kid when they're exploring like that, some place at the park, I mean, there's not too much there that, is like, here, play this game. So they have to use their imaginations. But if you're constantly, helicopter parent and trying to make sure that every move that they make is going to be, the best move so that they're okay, then you're kind of stopping, these processes too. And then also, when you the thing that I love about going to the park these days is that my son does want to just go run and do everything, and I can kind of sit back sometimes and just watch him, or do something that I want to do, or just kind of sit there, and it's nice to not have to be following him around and him waiting for me to second guess every move that he's making. So
sometimes and someone might jump in front of the slide in front of them, or they might fall, they might trip while they're running, and then they come and they're crying, and you acknowledge them, and you check them out, and they're good. But in that moment, we have allowed our kids to have that experience of falling down, getting themselves back up, and going forward. And that's what our kids need to develop within themselves. If we don't let them fall down, they don't know how to get back up. It's when it's bigger and more intense.
Yep. Yeah, for that one, I've learned too, for checking in with your kids to see if they're hurt or if they're scared or if it was both. And it just, it helps us move through it so quick. Because if you're scared, then, here I am, and I'm going to help you out until you're ready. And oh my gosh, I can't even believe how quickly my son, most of the time, doesn't even, he just jumps back up and, I hurt myself, but I'm okay. So, but good. Well, that makes me feel good that I'm, letting him do those things, and they're actually a good thing in the end. So, okay, so let's talk about the first step in self-management for these kiddos.
All righty. The first step is modeling self-management for your kids. So, and again, that doesn't mean managing them. So there's a story of Gandhi, and a woman had a 12-year-old son who she felt he had a sugar addiction. So she walked many miles with her son so that Gandhi would tell him to not stop, to stop eating sugar. So when they got to the front of the line, the woman said, will you please tell my son to stop eating sugar? And he looked at them and said, come back in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks goes past. She brings her son back to Gandhi. They finally get to the front of the line. And again, she said, now, Gandhi, will you please tell my son to stop eating sugar? And he looked at the boy and he said, boy, stop eating so much sugar. It's not, it's not good for your health. And that's pretty much all he said. And the woman looked at him and kind of whispered in his ears, how come you couldn't have said that 2 weeks ago? And Gandhi said, well, because 2 weeks ago I was eating sugar. So it's that whole other quote of his, be the change you wish to see. There was no way he would tell his son to stop eating sugar while he was eating sugar. So in the realms of self-management, how are your self-management traits? Like, how are you able to turn off the TV when you want it off? Are you able to turn off, the screen when you feel like you should be doing something? How are you managing your time? Or are you all of a sudden the last minute, throwing everything together to get out into the car, but, and yelling at everybody to hurry up because you weren't managing yourself very well, or you're not getting enough sleep? It's like they show up in all aspects of our lives as parents.
Yeah.
I always like, this one mom in my class, she goes, that's hilarious. She goes, I get on my 3-year-old daughter so bad about her not picking up her toys, and the playroom is a mess. She goes, and after you said that, Susie, I walked into my bathroom. My bathroom counter is just chaos. I'm so harping on my daughter, but I'm not even self-managed myself when it comes to my bathroom counter. So she goes, I stopped harping on her for a couple of days. I took care of my bathroom counter. Her daughter actually asked her what she was doing, and she shared, I'm wanting to model to you what I like to self-manage and take care of our stuff. And she felt so, she was like, that was such an eye-opener for her. So, because the thing is, 95% of what our kids learn is what we model.
Yes.
5% is what we tell them. So it's really not what we say, but what do we do? That's where it all comes from. So modeling self-management, and again, parents, it doesn't mean managing them.
Right.
It's not managing you.
That is so huge. 95% is what they learn from just seeing us, from just us modeling, and then 5% is what we tell them. So that makes sense that my husband and I are constantly thinking, when is he going to listen? But okay, so we've got first step is to manage our own self and
model it.
Model, yeah. And that's why, okay, you got me there, because you said it twice, that it's not managing them, it's managing our own self, and it's modeling that. So, okay. Got it.
and when forget, like, maybe you are modeling, picking up after yourself a lot, and then all of a sudden you see your 5-year-old, just dropping her clothes or a toy on the ground, and it's time to do something else. Like, the way you do that is like, where does your clothes belong? Or where does your toy go? So you're teaching them.
Yeah.
But you're not telling them, you're not harping on them, you're not, threatening if they don't, they're going to turn, whatever it is. So it's not that, they still need to be trained in those areas, but you're going to find that it doesn't take much when we model.
Yeah.
Pick it up pretty quickly because it's what they know.
And you know what, I'm glad that you said it that way too. Like, if you want your kids to pick up their toys, like, it's all in the way that you phrase it. Like, the one thing I know doesn't work is saying don't do something, because they don't hear that. They just hear whatever you said for them not to do.
Don't hit your brother. All I hear is hit your brother.
Yeah. So definitely, okay, just phrasing it differently. And I think that's one of the things that I really try to make sure, and checking in with yourself is really hard in the moment, but I really do try to figure out, like, okay, am I feeling okay? What's going on with me? Like, am I, how am I emotionally, my stability right now? And then, I can kind of figure out, but it's definitely hard to do that. It's a work in progress. But it's helpful, because then you can separate, like, okay, it's not that the toy's on the floor, it's that I'm, stressed out about something else. I got to kind of calm down first about that. So if you can't phrase it, if I can't phrase it in a way that's you know, helpful and not hurtful to the situation, that I got to kind of step back and check myself then.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Kids actually they feed upon us, and you know that. You know, if we're stressed, they feel that stress, and then they'll act out on that stress. And you also, you know, and you also know that if a child spills their milk, you're going to handle it so differently if you slept 4 hours versus 8 hours. It's the same cup of milk, but your response is going to be based on your self-care and what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, I couldn't agree with you more about that. And that's the hard part, is like kind of stopping and figuring out, like, crap, I didn't sleep well last night. Like, I gotta kind of be mindful about this throughout today. So I don't.
And that's where you want to like lower your expectations and not have 18 things on your plate to do. Just say, no, I've got, you know, I read somewhere where any parent of a toddler should never have more than 3 things on their to-do list.
Yes.
One probably a shower, so now you're down to 2 things. You know, anything else is just going to add stress. So, yeah.
Yeah, I always thought if we got out of the house one time a day, like, at least if we just got out, you know, that was get outside. That was my main thing from when he was little until, you know, that's one thing we try to do every day, just get outside. But that's our main thing. So, okay. So, probably at maybe step number 2.
Number 2, celebrate mistakes. So the thing is, when we're teaching our kids self-management, they're going to make mistakes. They're not going to do it right off the bat.
Yeah.
And we want to be okay, like, to look at mistakes as opportunities to learn, because there's so much learning in a mistake, and there's so much growth in a mistake. Like, we can't learn if we always do it right. This is no learning, and it can create angst in a child and pressure on them that they have to be doing it right. You know, and you know, that whole documentary Race to Nowhere, there's that 14-year-old that girl, 14-year-old, says, I can't afford to make a mistake. One mistake on my grades, I will not get into the college that I'm wanting to go to. And that's horrible. Because, you know, they've got to be okay making mistakes. That's where learning takes place. So celebrate mistakes. I mean, Jonas Salk, over 100 times before he figured out that vaccine. And someone once asked him, what kept you going with all those failures? What kept you on that path? And he said, because in our family, mistakes were never thought of as failures. They were only thought as experiences. And so he goes, I'm actually glad I didn't find the vaccine any sooner than I did, because I was able to find out so much other information through my mistakes. I think of Thomas Edison, 10,000 times before the light bulb. Like, what's going? Because he wasn't, you know, the thing is, he wasn't afraid of mistakes. So our kids are going to make mistakes through their self-management training. I guarantee it to all you. In fact, you should be ready for it and be okay with it. Celebrate mistakes every night. Everybody, including parents, what's one mistake, what I made today, and what did I learn from it, and how can I do it differently next time if I need to do it differently next time?
Yep.
It's a beautiful way to teach kids that they're going to make mistakes along the way, and that's okay. Because it's like in any new training, anything we're trying to learn. Like when they learn to ride a bike, they just don't get on their bike and ride. They fall a bunch. When they walk, how many times did your child fall before he actually walked? And was there any time at a point you said, you idiot, when are you going to learn to walk? No. We were like, it's okay, baby. Come on, stand up. And we would hold their little hands and go, come on. And we'd let go. You can do it. Come on. And we'd cheer them on, and they fall again. We're like, that's okay. Come on. You're getting so close.
Yep.
It's how
And
the whole journey, our life journey is like that. So you kids making mistakes while they're living with you, not when they're 1,000 miles away somewhere and they have their first big mistake, and there's nobody there to help them pick themselves up and get them going again. So mistakes are a very necessary step in teaching self-management.
Yep. And that's the one thing, I didn't realize how much of a perfectionist I was until I became a mom. And then I was like, holy crap, I cannot teach my son to be this way. So it was really helpful for me to be able to, at the end, or, you know, hopefully as soon after I make the mistake with him, you know, to be able to say, I'm sorry, you know, didn't do this the right way. Next time I will do it this way. It was the, the full circle. And I, for a long time, was beating myself up about the mistakes that I would make. And I was like, once I finally learned that, this is actually life. So if I make a mistake, I got to teach him, I'm modeling him how to work through these mistakes.
Yeah.
So,
and that's part of the steps of self-management. The next one is to allow natural consequences to happen too. They wanted to take, some toys to the park, let's say, and they are getting ready to go in the car, and they get in the car, and all of a sudden they realize they forgot their buckets, or and you don't go back.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I know you forgot your bucket, and I can see that you're sad about it, and we're still going to the park. And they go, have a good time, but they made that mistake, but that's okay. And as the kids get older, like they did their homework, and they're leaving. I mean, if it's killing a parent, you can say, do you have everything you need for school? Because you see, or swimming, and they're swimming, they need goggles. You have everything for swimming, and you see their goggles sitting there, or you see their homework. You leave it there. You allow them to have that natural progression in life.
Yeah.
And there's no better teacher in life than life itself.
Right.
And then these moments, one is experiencing life when they forget their homework, and now they have to deal with the consequence of school. They forget their goggles. And, as a parent, especially moms again, you don't go through the goggles in the bag. So when the kid's freaking out at the pool, you say, here, honey, now don't forget next time. Because that child's like, whatever. It's because there's actually a saying that says, for every child who forgets, there's always a parent who remembers. So if you have forgetful kids, check it out. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Maybe a reason they're forgetting because you're going to remember for them. So stop remembering.
Yeah.
They can learn to manage themselves and, get their little bags packed for swimming and get their backpacks ready for school.
And that's what they're going to remember is that my mom's going to take care of it. I take a parenting class. It's like a preschool education or preschool experience for my son, and then parenting education for myself. And one of the grandmas who was taking her granddaughter to this class, in our discussion, she was saying, gosh, I wish I would have learned this sooner, because I did that. I brought my son's homework. I brought his lunch. I did this, and my sons are really pissed off at me now, saying, Mom, you shouldn't have done that. And so, and it's really hard for her because she loves her grandkids, but she is learning that, she's got to let them have these experiences, because, like when this happens with my son and something gets forgotten or missed or whatever, and we're going through these emotions of, he's sad that he forgot it. He's frustrated that he forgot it, but, he's experiencing these emotions, and he's also remembering next time, oh, I don't want to forget this. I'm going to he knows Mom puts everything by the door. If I don't want it to forget anything, I'll put it by the door. So now he's going, I'm going to put this by the door, Mom, because I don't want to forget it. So, but he did that on his own.
Yeah.
So
he had to have the practice and forgetting it a few times in order to get that muscle strengthened, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a friend who's got when her daughter was 7, I think it was 2nd grade. She asked her daughter, do you need me to remind you to do your homework every night? She goes, oh, no, I'm good. So the first day she runs in, after the first day of school, she runs in, she throws her backpack on the ground by the front door, and she runs out and plays with her friends, comes in for dinner, backpack never gets touched, killing the mom. The daughter goes the next morning, she goes, oh no, I didn't do my homework. And so she goes off to school and deals with it at school. Second day after school, she comes running in, she throws her backpack again, goes out to play with everybody on the street, comes in that night, never did her homework. Same thing the next day. She's like, oh, I forgot to do my homework, and the mom's just like zipping it, and she's dying. Like, how can you read, right? Third day, the daughter comes running in, throws her backpack on the ground, starts running out the door, stops midway in her run, turns around, picks up her backpack, takes it upstairs, and throws it on her bed. Then she goes out to play. And that night she got her homework done. But 3 days. This
Yeah.
hold to it because the daughter said, no, I don't want you reminding me of my homework. I have to, you know, basically I can do this. But it took her a few mistakes in order to get there.
Yep.
So,
Exactly. And what is it that in us that we feel like we're failing as a parent when our kids, like, you know, I'm not at that place where we have homework yet. So I don't know that, but it's, you know, where would a parent think like, or you know, I don't know. I guess it's in my thought process that, you know, I'm thinking of the parent going, you know, this is my duty that I have to remind them. But in this instance, she, you know, she's needing to honor her daughter's request to not.
right. She asked her daughter,
Yeah.
should I remind her or not, and her daughter said no. So she had to stick to it and just wait it out.
Yeah.
What a beautiful story, huh?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And definitely you can see after, you know, even though 2 times it worked because, you know, that
the daughter that can manage her own homework at night, and she doesn't have to be the parent that's harping her, you know, do your homework.
yeah, exactly. Because there's consequences, and she let the natural consequences happen.
Exactly.
So
That's good. Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so I think number 4.
Number 4 one is setting limits, and you know, setting limits around well, I think one of my favorite ways of teaching self-management is through screen time, like turning TVs off and turning laptops and, you know, iPads and that whole 9 yards off. So you set limits around that. Or an example for me, one of my granddaughters who's 4, like this was back when she just was turning 4, even 3.5. Whenever we went to her cousin's house, she'd have such a hard time to leave. Like it was just a struggle. You know, and so I came up with some limits, and it was like, once I asked her to leave, and if she needed 5 more minutes, I'd give her 5 more minutes. But if it became a struggle, then she knew as a result, the next time she wanted to go to her cousin's house, we weren't going to go. You know, and I did the same thing with a trampoline that was next door to my house, and her wanted to jump on it. And it took her a few times where it was a struggle.
Yeah.
And so she'd get in the car or get her to leave the trampoline, and she'd say to me, does this mean I can't go see my cousins next time I want to go? I'm like, yeah. And so it took her a few times, but then she got it. And like actually one time she got in the car and I didn't even say anything about it. And she said, Grammy, she goes, did you notice that I honor our agreement? Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I so appreciate that. But at the end of the day, we might be at the park and it could be time to leave. And she's like, I don't want to leave yet. And I'm like, okay, you can do one more thing. And she does. I'm like, okay, it's time to go. And she goes, but I'm like, all I have to say is remember the agreement.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes. And she's 4.5 now.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, with that agreement though too, Susie, we have to follow through with it too, because I see parents, you know, saying, unfortunately, like I see a lot of parents kind of threatening their kids, like, you know, we're leaving, we're going. And it's like, you can't say that and not leave.
Here, like, don't lie to your kids. You're not going to leave your kids at a park or at a store.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't lie to them and threaten them with those kind of things. It's not happening.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean,
to have these limits set up ahead of time and also have agreements set up around with them. Like if they choose to not honor it, what will be the results? And I like to use the word results more than consequences these days.
Okay.
Because I think when they get into the work world, it's more about results and not consequences.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's the agreement and what's the result if you choose to forget the agreement that we had? You know, just set the limits. And when it comes to TV, you know, when TV's on, yes, of course you can watch it. And the agreement is when it's time to go off, when the show's over, it's over. You know, with the agreement that if you forget and you beg for another show, then you know next time you want a show, there won't be a show because I'm not willing, and it's important to use the word I'm not willing to go through the struggle with you again.
Yeah.
But then to add, but you will have another chance again. So maybe later on in the afternoon, do you want to try watching a 30-minute show and turning it off when it's time? You know, do you want to try to go to your cousins again today and see how you handle coming back when it's time to leave? Like,
right.
Them, because we don't have that much time to teach this. So we don't want to miss the opportunity by saying, well, you can't watch TV for a week. I mean, why would we want to do that especially to a young child? You want to give them a challenge after school or after lunch. Hey, you want to try, you know, you want to try decide and stay on this side of the driveway instead of the other side because you know our agreement? Like constant. You want to go to the park and challenge yourself leaving when it's time to go? So
Right.
I challenge that word with them, especially power child kids. They love challenges.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know a child that doesn't want to like own something, you know, like this is I made an agreement. This is our agreement, you know, like as part of something. So
also good when they fulfill it, especially after they messed it up a few.
Yeah.
It's something like I did it.
Yes.
I did it. So yeah.
I know. I love that. We say that a lot in our house because I ask my son, you know, when he's like, I can't do this, I can't figure it out, and I'm like, okay, I can help you if you can't figure it out, and then I'll ask him like, can you figure it out? And then he usually is like, give me a second, and then, you know, a few seconds later, I did it, and it's just like the best thing to hear, you know. I love that, and thank you for a few little tidbits in that last section there, because screen time is not too much of an issue, but the trying to negotiate after we've kind of made our agreement can be a little hard. So I like that, you know, I'm not taking it away fully, but you know, the next time that you ask, then we can't watch a show, but you'll have another chance. I really like that. I'm going to use that.
Love that. You get another chance.
Yeah, because you want to kind of sandwich it in, you know, you don't want to just give them all the negative, you know, you got to give them a little ray of light too.
Yeah, if you mess it up, you mess it up. It's okay. You'll get another try.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm teaching you self-management. They're you're teaching you what, especially little kids, self-manage, teaching you how to manage yourself so that when you're out by yourself, I don't need to worry about you that much because I know you know how to manage you.
Yes.
And they're like, wow, okay. Whatever. They get it, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's trust, and that's, you know, like a pride kind of thing. Like, you know, my parents trust me. They know that I'm, you know, capable. And even, you know, for my son who's 4.5, you know, we've built that trust since he was in the womb. You know, hopefully I feel like I built that, and it's, you know, finally kind of turning around that he's older and doing more things, independently, and just doing them on his own. And the one thing I love that I have to share that he lately, because my husband and I going on dates and kind of having other people watch him was kind of you know, a slow process. We really let our son lead the way on that. But now these days he's telling us, I want a babysitter. Can someone babysit me and you guys can go on a date? So.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Oh my God, Susie, it feels nice.
Like, why don't you go somewhere? We want a babysitter. Like, okay.
It feels so good. But I feel like, you know, because we spent so much time honoring his feelings and working him up to, you know, when there was a point where we actually needed to have, you know, date time, and we were, you know, taking that time prepping him for being, you know, watched by somebody else, and just, you know, really honoring that time, and you know, but giving him that that feeling that he knew, you know, that everything was going to be fine, because, you know, we kind of just had to work through the whole process of leaving and coming back and everything. So but the trust definitely has to be there. So
okay. Yeah. Awesome. And so a fifth one, I think we're on number 5, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I have a few, but we'll number it to 5, but I'm going to combine a couple right here, is when it comes to self-management, that whole idea of letting go. You know, letting go, letting them have that experience is going to be really important. You know, even though, you know, they may be, you know, eating a yogurt thing, you know, squeezy thing, or one of those, whatever kind of food, and you know there's a chance it's going to spill over the place and half it's going to be gone, but you're letting them have that experience so that they start being more conscious of when they are eating or squeezing that stuff in their face, in their mouth. You know, little things are just letting go.
Yeah.
You know, even for parents of teens, letting go. trusting your child's innate wisdom that they'll figure it out. And they may be real sloppy with it, but trusting in them and saying, I know you can do this.
Yes.
You know, and so, it's the worst thing we can say to our teens is, I don't trust you. How can I trust you anymore? You've lost my trust. Like, that's just baloney. It's what our parents said to us, and it doesn't make anybody feel good. What our teenagers need to hear is like, hey, you blew it. So I'm going to have you stay home tonight. And I know, though, that you will be able to do this. I know you'll be able to come home when it's on curfew this time. You know, you can do it.
Right.
And with that trust, I know you can do it. So that is, letting go. And then to kind of follow that up is, and not make them wrong when they do blow it. They're just trying to figure out life. This is their journey, not ours. They should be sloppy. They should have their skin needs. And, you still have the guidelines. You have their limits, but you don't have to make them,
shame.
TV's off. You don't have to yell and lecture and tell them how, whatever. Just like, it's not and say to them, because most kids feel like when they do something wrong, they're going to be in trouble now, because most of them have been in trouble. So for you parents out there that are listening to this, watching your tone and saying to the child, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. It's just that we had that agreement about the TV. You forgot about it or whatever, and now it's off. That's all.
Right.
It's not a punishment. It was part of what we talked about. So that they're not, don't make them wrong.
Yeah, it's that shaming that we had, growing up, and I'm sure that our parents didn't mean it, but their parents did it to them, and so it's just this vicious cycle. But yeah, definitely and I love that letting go, because, and especially for parents of the younger kids too, with preschoolers and toddlers, I mean, the cognitive development, the stage that they're in, if they're learner ready, there's so many things to take into account before you are going to try to bombard them with information. And usually, I don't even know what age we should really start having long drawn out conversations with our son about things. I don't even know if there is an age, but it's not right now, he's not really going to listen and learn everything that we're telling him when we're sitting him down after he does something that, was a bad choice. Mm-hmm. So letting go is one of those things that I definitely have taken to heart, it's, redirect. Nope, we don't do that. And then let it go. Yep. Cause, and definitely the whole, humiliating and shaming them. I mean, there's just there's nothing that helpful to come from that.
100%. Yeah.
So awesome, man. I know you said that there's more, and I can totally get how there is more, but just those
are good. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are definitely good ones to follow, at least to start with. But if you do want more, let me bring up the website here. Check out Susie Walton, IndigoVillage.com, and you can find her. There's tons of resources on there, and then find a way to connect with her, and she can do coaching over the phone. You can sign up for the parenting classes. So if they are local, Susie, what is it that you would do, with the Joy of Parenting? Would it be, I know you said you go and you teach places, but if it's a single family?
Well, if they go on my website, they can find different locations where I do teach. It's a 4-week course, once a week for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Oftentimes parents will put together a group of friends, 10, 15 friends, and they ask me to come and teach it to their friends, which is way cool, or at a preschool if their kids are at. So there's so many ways. And then I do private coaching. If they just can't figure out a way to make it work, then I have a home office, and they come in and we do an hour coaching session, or they can buy a pack of 3 and they get all their questions answered in that moment. And then I have an online course, the Joy Parenting online course, that they can get on our website, Indigo Village website, where they can just take, go through the course at home. It was a live course was filmed, so they'll see the course as it actually plays out.
Awesome.
And then they could, on that they could coach, they could do an hour coaching session to come follow up with that, to get all their questions answered that came up while they were watching the online course. So,
oh, great.
Plenty of resources for them.
Yeah. Awesome.
I think everybody needs to take a parenting class. I wish I'd taken it when my kids were younger. I just didn't even know they were around. But, your kids don't have to be, crazy to take a course. You want to be proactive. I've had parents who are, fiancés, people engaged to come take the course. And then, then there's people like me that wait till their kids are almost teenagers to take a course. But it's never too late and it's never too soon.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, even, yeah. And a lot of the things that I've learned in my parenting classes, like I definitely wish I would have taken before I became a parent. And a lot of the things are helpful for me just as a person.
Yeah.
So yay. Well, thank you so much, Susie. I really appreciate your time tonight. And we will definitely be talking about other things that we can do as far as the joy of parenting goes, because I would love to help out in any way as far as getting the just a hangout about the joy of parenting. I don't know how you could even do that. How could you even put everything in one hangout?
Well, I would go through some of the basics. Yeah,
I know. I'm selfish. I just want all of it. I'm like, how can you choose from one topic here? So, they're pretty awesome. And so, and people can look at this, the topics that you have on your website on indigovillage.com.
Yeah, they're all there.
Okay, perfect. So check them out, you guys.
I have a lot of great interviews with a lot of, people who specialize in areas that I thought, like the owner of, the founder of Common Sense Media, Jim Steyer. There was an interview with him, but I have resources galore on that website of mine. So
awesome.
Everybody use it, it takes a village. So I'm part of your village now, so use me.
There you go. Yeah, and that's what's great about, online is that it doesn't really matter where you are. You can find your tribe. And I mean, face to face, of course, is definitely ideal. But, for us moms who are parenting throughout the night and the day, I mean, online and everything that's on the internet is just like amazing to have a resource like that. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, you guys. Well, we're going to end the show here. And Susie, I'm going to stop the broadcast, but we'll still be on after. And we will see you on the next All Things Crunchy show. And this has been a Mama Tribe Network production. And this is Mama Tribe After Dark. So we'll see you next week. All right. Bye-bye.